Be me today, and I'm just going to be real. I'm so tired of dealing with men. Sitting in my kitchen with coffee thinking about yesterday's rally downtown, where we protested outside City Hall demanding better funding for women's shelters. Feeling good about it, honestly, because someone has to actually do something instead of just talking. I'm 34, work as a paralegal at a mid-sized firm, spend most of my free time organizing for various causes. Not the kind of person who just shares things online and calls it activism. I actually show up, I make signs, I stand in the cold, I argue with city council members during open forums. My apartment walls are covered with flyers from past events, photos of marches, a calendar marked with upcoming demonstrations. Most of my friends dropped away over the years because they got too busy or said I was too intense. Their words, not mine. What they really mean is they got comfortable, got complacent, stopped caring about injustice. My mom keeps asking when I'm going to settle down and focus on my own life. This is my life, though. Fighting against the systems that oppress us is the most important thing I can do with my time. Men walk through this world on easy mode and don't even realize it. Every door opens for them, every opportunity handed over, every benefit of doubt automatically extended. Meanwhile, women have to fight and claw and justify our existence at every turn. I see it at work constantly. The male attorneys get the better cases, the male paralegals get promoted faster, even with less experience. Rick, who sits 3 desks down from me, got bumped up to senior paralegal last month, and he's been here 2 years less than me. When I pointed this out to my supervisor, she said he showed initiative. What the fuck does that even mean? I show initiative every single day. I stay late, I catch mistakes others miss, I build the most thorough case files in the department, but somehow that doesn't count as initiative when I do it. It's invisible when a woman does it, it's just expected. When a man does the bare minimum, it's exceptional and noteworthy. This is what I mean about systemic privilege. Men don't have to think about any of this. They just coast through on default settings while the rest of us have to manually configure every aspect of our existence. Anyway, I'm thinking about all this while getting ready for work. Put on my usual business casual outfit, nothing fancy, comfortable shoes, because I walk to work most days. It's Monday morning and I've got a long week ahead. 3 different actions planned this week alone. Tuesday evening, there's a city council meeting where we're pushing for mandatory paid family leave ordinances. Thursday night, we're meeting with representatives from the Housing Authority about discrimination in rental applications. Saturday morning, big demonstration at the courthouse about family court reform. Well, family court reform from the correct perspective, obviously, making sure mothers aren't punished economically for taking on the majority of childcare responsibilities. My colleague Jennifer is going through a divorce right now, and her husband is actually trying to get 50-50 custody. The audacity of these men, I swear. He worked 60 hours a week for their entire marriage, barely saw the kids except on weekends. Now suddenly, he wants to play Father of the Year. It's a control thing, obviously. They can't stand losing power over us, so they weaponize the children. I've been helping Jennifer document everything for her attorney. Every missed recital, every forgotten parent-teacher conference, every time he came home too tired to help with homework. She's built her entire life around those children, and he thinks he can just swoop in and take them half the time. The system is supposed to protect mothers, but it doesn't always work. That's why we have to fight. I grab my bag and head out. Walk down the 4 flights of stairs from my apartment. The elevator's been broken for 3 weeks, and the landlord keeps saying he'll fix it. This building is rent-controlled, which is the only reason I can afford it. Real estate in this city is absolutely insane. I step outside and it's cold, early March weather, that damp cold that gets into your bones. Start walking toward the office, same route I take every day. Cut through Morrison Street, past the library, through Franklin Park, then down 5th Avenue to the office building. I'm walking past the library when I see him for the first time. There's a guy sitting on the ground near the entrance, maybe 60 years old, weathered face, dirty jacket. He's got a piece of cardboard that says, "Veteran Anything Helps." I see these signs all the time, and honestly, I'm skeptical. A lot of people lie about being veterans to get sympathy money. Stolen valor is a real thing. Plus, the whole military-industrial complex is just another arm of patriarchal oppression anyway. Men join the military and participate in imperialism, then expect us to thank them for it. I walk past without making eye contact. He doesn't say anything, just sits there. I continue through the park, and that's when I notice something I've somehow never really paid attention to before. There are a lot of homeless people in this park. I mean, I knew that, obviously. Everyone knows that. But this morning, for some reason, I'm actually looking at them. There's one on every bench, basically. And I realized something. They're all men. Every single one. That's weird, right? I mean, statistically, that doesn't make sense. Women face more economic hardship, we make less money, we're more likely to be in poverty. So there should be at least some women out here. I look more carefully as I walk through. Old man with a shopping cart full of bottles and cans. Younger guy, maybe 30s, sleeping on a bench with newspaper over his face. Middle-aged man, sitting against a tree talking to himself. Another older man, methodically going through a garbage can. Wait, there's someone on that far bench. I squint. No. Also a man, just has long hair. Every single person in this park is male. I've walked through here 5 days a week for 3 years and never actually noticed that. It's probably just this park, though. Statistical anomaly. I keep walking, get to the office, go through security, up to the 11th floor. The day passes in the usual blur of paperwork and phone calls and emails. Around 11, I go to the break room for more coffee. Rick is in there, microwaving something that smells awful. Big weekend, he asks, in that overly casual tone men use when they're trying to seem friendly, but really just want to talk about themselves. Productive, I say, pouring coffee. I caught the game Saturday, he says, like I care, like anyone cares. I respond non-committally. Took my son, he continues. First time bringing him to a live game, he loved it. This catches my attention, actually. You have custody this weekend? I ask. He looks confused. I have him every weekend, he says. Well, every other weekend, Friday through Sunday. Where's his mother? Now he looks uncomfortable. She's got her own place across town. We split up 2 years ago. But you get regular visitation? Yeah, every other weekend and Wednesday evenings. I nod slowly. This is actually pretty standard, the father getting minimal time while the mother does the real parenting. That must be hard, I say, meaning it must be hard for his ex-wife. For her, doing it all alone most of the time? Rick's face does something complicated. Yeah, he says quietly. It's hard for everyone. Then he takes his food and leaves. Men are so sensitive, can't handle even the slightest acknowledgement of women's struggles. I take my coffee back to my desk. Afternoon continues, more work, more emails. Around 4 o'clock, my supervisor asks me to run something over to the courthouse. We have a filing that needs to be submitted today, and their online system is down. It's annoying, but whatever. I need the break anyway. I grab the documents and head out. It's a 15-minute walk to the courthouse. I'm going down 5th Avenue when I pass a construction site. There's a bunch of workers in hard hats and reflective vests. All men, obviously. Construction is such a boys' club, they probably don't even consider applications from women. I'm walking past when I hear shouting. Loud, urgent shouting. I stop and look. All the workers are running toward one spot. Everyone's yelling. Something's happened. I can't see what exactly, but the energy is panicked. One guy is on a radio or phone calling for help. Others are surrounding something on the ground. I stand there frozen, watching. Within minutes, there are sirens. An ambulance pulls up, EMTs jump out with equipment. I'm still standing there. The EMTs rush into the site. I can hear fragments of shouting. Fell from the 4th floor. Not breathing. Where's the goddamn safety line? They bring out a stretcher maybe 10 minutes later. There's someone on it, completely covered with a sheet. Covered completely. That means dead. Someone just died. Right here, right now, someone died while I was walking past. The EMTs load the stretcher into the ambulance, but they don't turn on the sirens. No rush now. I feel sick. I make myself walk away, get to the courthouse, submit the filing. The clerk takes it without interest, stamps it, files it. I walk back to the office in a daze. A man just died. Someone's husband maybe. Someone's father. Fell off a building while working. I get back to the office and can't focus on anything. Keep thinking about that sheet-covered body. At 5:30, I leave and walk home. Different route this time. I don't want to pass the construction site. I go down 7th Avenue instead. Pass a fire station and see the firefighters outside washing their truck. All men. Think about them running into burning buildings. Wonder how many of them die every year. Get home to my apartment, make dinner, try to distract myself with TV. Can't stop thinking about what I saw. I open my laptop and search workplace deaths statistics. The numbers come up. 92% male. That can't be right. I check another source. 93%. Another source. 92.5%. 5,000 workplace deaths per year, and over 90% are men. I sit back. That's significant, but it's because men choose dangerous jobs, right? They're not forced into those jobs. They choose them because they pay more. Hazard pay. So really it's still a choice. Women would work those jobs too if we were allowed. We're just kept out of those industries. I close the laptop. Need to not think about this right now. Tuesday comes and I go to the city council meeting. We're there to speak during public comment about paid family leave. There's maybe 20 of us from various advocacy groups. We sit through an hour of boring procedural stuff waiting for public comment period. Finally, it opens up. One by one, people go to the microphone. Jennifer speaks about her situation, needing to take time off when her kids are sick, losing income. Another woman talks about being fired after having a baby. Another talks about the impossible choice between career and family. All valid, all important. Then, a man approaches the microphone. He's in his 50s, wearing a suit that's seen better days. "My name is David Chen," he says. "I want to talk about paid leave, but from a different angle." "Oh, here we go. When my wife died 4 years ago, I had 3 children under age 10, he continues. His voice is steady, but his hands are shaking. I requested leave from my employer to care for them, and was told that family leave was for mothers, not fathers. He pauses. I was told to hire a nanny to figure it out, that I couldn't possibly understand what children needed. Another pause. I lost my job anyway, because I kept missing work when they were sick, when they had nightmares, when they needed me. He's gripping the podium now. Single fathers exist, widowed fathers exist. We need this policy too. He steps away from the microphone. The room is quiet. I feel annoyed, honestly. This is typical. We try to have a conversation about women's issues, and men have to come in and make it about themselves. Not all men, energy. Yes, his situation is sad, but it's not the norm. The vast majority of single parents are mothers. The vast majority of childcare burden falls on women. We can't derail every conversation to accommodate edge cases. After the meeting, I'm talking with Jennifer and the others outside. That guy, Jennifer says, shaking her head. So inappropriate. Right? I agree. Like read the room. But something feels uncomfortable about saying it. His hands were shaking. He looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. I pushed the thought away. Wednesday, I'm back at work. Lunch break, I decide to walk to the deli 2 blocks over. On my way, I pass an alley and see 2 people arguing. A man and a woman. She's screaming at him, really screaming. He's standing there with his hands up in a defensive position. Then she hits him, slaps him hard across the face. He doesn't hit back, just takes it. She hits him again, closed fist this time in the chest. He stumbles backward. "Please," he says. "Please just stop." She hits him again. I'm frozen, watching this. She's smaller than him, but she's hitting him hard. There are other people on the street. Everyone's averting their eyes. No one does anything. Finally, the woman storms off. The man stands there, his face red where she hit him, and he's crying. Actually crying, tears running down his face. He sees everyone watching and quickly wipes his face, walks away in the opposite direction. I continue to the deli in a fog. That was domestic violence. Clear, obvious domestic violence. And no one did anything. If the genders were reversed, people would have intervened. I would have intervened, but because it was a woman hitting a man... No, wait, that's not fair. She was smaller. He wasn't really in danger. Men are stronger. He could have defended himself if he really needed to. He chose not to hit back. That's on him. But he was crying. I get my sandwich and go back to work. That evening, I'm home researching for Saturday's demonstration. We're protesting family court bias against mothers. I'm looking up statistics to put on signs. Mothers get custody 70% of the time, or something like that. I'm searching for the exact numbers when I find something weird. An article explaining that, in contested cases, fathers actually win custody more often than mothers. That doesn't sound right. I click through to the study. It's from a university, looks legitimate. Says that when fathers actually fight for custody, they're more likely to get it than mothers are. But most fathers don't fight for it. They either voluntarily agree to less custody or don't pursue it at all. So the 70% number is misleading. It includes all the cases where fathers didn't ask for equal custody. When they do ask, they often get it. I sit back. This contradicts everything I thought I knew. But wait. That study might be biased, funded by men's rights groups or something. I check the funding. It's from a neutral academic grant. The researchers are mostly women, actually. I search for counter-arguments, something to refute this. Find a few articles, but they're all on questionable websites. The legitimate academic sources seem to confirm it. When fathers seek custody, they usually get it. The reason mothers have primary custody, most of the time, is because fathers aren't asking for equal time. Why aren't they asking, though? Because they don't care? Because they're conditioned not to? Because they assume they'll lose? Because lawyers tell them they'll lose? I close the laptop harder than necessary. This is making me uncomfortable, and I don't like it. Thursday passes uneventfully. Friday, I'm walking to work and see the same homeless veteran outside the library. He's in the exact same spot as Monday. Has he been there all week? Where does he sleep? Does he sleep? I stop this time, don't know why. Reach into my bag and pull out a $5 bill. Walk over and hold it out. He looks up at me with these eyes that are so tired. "Thank you," he says quietly, taking the money. His hands are shaking, might be cold, might be something else. "Are you really a veteran?" I ask. The question comes out more accusatory than I meant. He doesn't look offended though, just nods and pulls out a worn plastic card from his pocket. VA identification card. "Vietnam," he says. "Long time ago." I don't know what to say. "There are shelters," I finally offer. "Resources." He laughs. No humor in it. "Men's shelters got waiting lists a mile long," he says, "and they kick you out every morning at 6. You can't stay during the day." "What about VA benefits?" "Got some disability," he says. "Ain't enough for rent, not in this city. And I got some problems." He taps his head. "PTSD, they call it. Hard to hold a job." "There must be programs." "Sure," he agrees. "Programs for vets with families. Programs for women vets. Programs for young vets. Not a lot for old guys like me, who got nobody." I stand there uselessly. "I had a wife once," he continues, not looking at me anymore, looking past me. 2 kids. Lost them when I came back. I wasn't right in the head. Angry all the time. She left, took the kids. Can't blame her. "When was that?" 76, he says. 47 years ago. 47 years of this. "I'm sorry," I whisper. He shrugs. "Appreciate the $5, he says. I walk away feeling like I've been punched. At work, I can't concentrate. Keep thinking about him sitting there. 47 years. How many people walked past him every day? How many times has he been invisible? Lunchtime? I look up homelessness statistics instead of eating. 70% of homeless people are men. In some cities, it's as high as 80%. But when you see news stories about homelessness, they always show women and children. Always interview female homeless people. There are entire programs dedicated to homeless women specifically. Homeless mothers get priority placement. Which makes sense. Children need to be protected. But what about all these men? There are so many of them. I saw them all in the park and didn't really see them. They were just part of the landscape. I look up suicide statistics next. Don't know why. 79% male. Men are 3.5 times more likely to kill themselves. Middle-aged men have the highest rate. The numbers are staggering. 48,000 suicides per year, and nearly 40,000 are men. Why don't we talk about this? Why have I never thought about this? I'm part of multiple advocacy groups, and we've never once discussed male suicide. We talk about suicide prevention, but always in general terms or focused on teen girls or LGBTQ youth. Never specifically about men. Even though they're dying at far higher rates, I feel something shifting in my chest, something uncomfortable. Saturday morning, I wake up and I'm supposed to go to the courthouse demonstration. Jennifer texted me last night confirming I'll be there. I get dressed, make coffee, stare at my phone. Think about the veteran outside the library. Think about David Chen at the city council meeting. Think about the man in the alley getting hit. Think about the construction worker who fell. Think about all those men in the park, invisible. Think about the suicide statistics. I pick up my phone and text Jennifer. "Not feeling well, can't make it today." She responds immediately. "Feel better, we'll miss you." I put my phone down. Instead of going to the demonstration, I walk to the library. The veteran is there, same spot. I sit down next to him on the ground. He looks surprised. "You again?" he says. "What's your name?" I ask. "Robert," he says. "Robert Williams." "I'm Sarah." We sit there for a while, not talking. People walk past, most don't look, some actively look away. We're invisible sitting here. I've become invisible just by sitting next to him. "Robert," I say finally. Tell me about Vietnam. And he does. He talks for 2 hours, tells me about being drafted at 19, being terrified, watching his friends die. Tells me about coming home and people spitting on him, calling him baby killer. Tells me about nightmares that never stopped. Tells me about his wife trying to help but not understanding. Tells me about his daughter's wedding that he wasn't invited to. Tells me about winters on the street, summers in the heat, the day-to-day of being homeless. Tells me about other vets he knows, guys who also fell through the cracks. Tells me about a friend who hung himself under a bridge last year. Tells me nobody came to the funeral. There was no funeral. I listen, and something inside me is cracking. When he finishes talking, he looks exhausted. Why'd you want to know all that? He asks. Because someone should, I say, and I realize I'm crying. He nods slowly. Most people don't want to know, he says. Easier to think we deserve it somehow, that we made bad choices, that we're lazy, or addicts, or crazy. Are you? I ask. An addict. Was, he admits. Drank too much for a long time. Been sober 8 years now. Doesn't matter though. Still homeless. Turns out the drinking was a symptom, not the problem. I sit with that. The problem was, nobody gave a shit, he says quietly. Still don't. And I get it. I'm old. I'm used up. I'm not worth much. But there's a lot of us. Young guys too. Guys who lost jobs, lost families, lost their way. System's not built for us. There are programs, I start. For women and children, he interrupts gently, as there should be. I'm not saying take anything away from them. I'm just saying there's a lot of us dying in the gaps. I don't have a response to that. I stay with Robert for another hour. Give him $20 more, all the cash I have. Exchange phone numbers, even though he doesn't have a phone, he just memorizes mine. In case you ever get a phone, I say. He smiles sadly. I walk home in a daze, spend the rest of the weekend reading. Read about family court and father's rights. Read about male victims of domestic violence being turned away from shelters because there are almost no shelters for men. Read about the sentencing disparity where men get 63% longer sentences for the same crimes. Read about boys falling behind in education at every level. Read about male victims of sexual assault being excluded from statistics and support services. Read about men being 93% of workplace deaths. Read about men being 77% of homicide victims. Read about men being 69% of the homeless. Read about men being 85% of the prison population. Read about men having lower life expectancy. Read about men being less likely to go to college now. Read about men having virtually no reproductive rights. Read about male victims of female perpetrators being arrested themselves under primary aggressor policies. Read about men losing custody even in cases where the mother is proven unfit. Read about the hundreds of thousands of men paying child support for children who aren't biologically theirs. Read about false accusations and lives destroyed. Read about men having no legal recourse if a woman lies about birth control. Read about men's consent being considered irrelevant in conception but absolute in responsibility. Read about the complete lack of social services. Read about the automatic assumption of guilt. Read about the disposability. Read and read and read until my eyes hurt and my head hurts and something fundamental is shifting. Monday, I call in sick to work. I can't face the office, can't face Rick and his every other weekend custody. Can't face Jennifer and her righteous anger about her ex wanting time with his kids. Can't face my own certainty that I had about everything. Tuesday, I go back to work because I have to. Everything looks different. I notice things I never noticed before. The janitor working the night shift is a man, always a man, cleaning toilets for minimum wage. The garbage collectors outside at 6 a.m. are all men. The delivery guys hauling heavy boxes up the stairs are all men. The security guard who stands all day at the entrance is a man. The electrician who came to fix the wiring is a man. The men doing road work in the heat. The men working the sewers. The men on the power lines. The dangerous, dirty, difficult, essential jobs that keep society running. All men. Invisible men. Wednesday. Jennifer corners me in the break room. You missed the demonstration, she says. It went really well. We got some media coverage. That's great, I say automatically. Are you okay? She asks. You've been weird. I'm fine. Is it about Rick's promotion? Because I agree. That was bullshit. I look at her. Really look at her. Jennifer, I say slowly, why doesn't your ex deserve equal custody? Her face changes immediately. Are you serious right now? I'm genuinely asking. Because he was never there, Sarah. You know this. I told you all of it. He was working. So what? I worked too and still did everything for the kids. Part-time though, right? You chose to go part-time to be with them more. I had to because someone needed to raise them. But did he want you to? Or did you decide that's how it should be? She's staring at me like I've grown a second head. What the fuck, Sarah? I'm just asking if maybe he wanted more time with them, but you had already decided he wasn't capable. He wasn't capable? He proved that. By working to support the family? Oh my God, she says. Oh my God, are you being a men's rights activist right now? No, After everything I've told you, everything I've been through, you're taking his side? I'm not taking anyone's side. I'm asking questions. Fuck you, Sarah, she says. And she walks out. I stand there in the empty break room. That went badly, but I can't unsee what I've seen. Can't unknow what I know now. Thursday I go back to the library on my lunch break. Robert is there. I bring him a sandwich and coffee. We eat together on the ground. How long you been doing this? I ask. Being homeless? 13 years, he says. Had a room before that in a boarding house. Building got condemned. Couldn't find another place I could afford. No family. Daughter's in Oregon somewhere. Haven't talked to her in maybe 20 years. She tried for a while after she grew up. Tried to reconnect. I was drinking heavy then. Pushed her away. By the time I got sober, she'd given up. You could try to contact her? Nah, he says. She's got her own life. Don't need. Her old man showing up homeless asking for help. Some things you can't come back from. We sit in silence. Why are you spending time with me? He asks. You feel guilty about something? Maybe, I admit. Guilty about not seeing. About walking past people like you every day and not seeing. You see now, though. Yeah. That's something. Friday there's a staff meeting at work. HR is presenting on diversity and inclusion initiatives. They talk about hiring more women, hiring more people of color, supporting LGBTQ employees, creating an inclusive environment, all good things, things I've advocated for. But I raise my hand. Yes, Sarah, the HR director says. What about men's issues? I ask. The room goes quiet. I'm sorry, the director says. Men make up 93% of workplace deaths. Does our safety training account for that? Are we doing anything specific to protect male employees who work in dangerous conditions? Our safety protocols apply to everyone equally, she says carefully. But if men are dying at much higher rates, shouldn't we examine why and address it specifically? People are shifting uncomfortably. Men also have higher suicide rates, I continue, especially middle-aged men. Does our mental health support take that into account? Do we have specific outreach for male employees who might be struggling? The director looks like she wants to be anywhere else. Our mental health resources are available to all employees, she says. Available and utilized are different things, I press. Men are less likely to seek help. Are we doing anything proactive? My supervisor cuts in. Sarah, this meeting is about diversity and inclusion. Aren't men included in that? Men aren't a marginalized group. Some men are, I say. Working class men, homeless men, suicidal men, men in dangerous jobs. They're marginalized from support structures. They're invisible. This really isn't the time or place, my supervisor says firmly. I sit back. The meeting continues without me. Afterward, my supervisor calls me into her office. What was that? She demands. Questions about our diversity initiatives. You know exactly what I mean, Sarah. Men's rights talking points? Really? They're not talking points. They're statistics. You're being disruptive. I'm bringing up issues that affect our employees. She sighs heavily. Look, I know you've been going through something lately. Jennifer mentioned you've been acting strange. Is everything okay at home? Everything's fine. 'Cause if you need some time off? I don't need time off. I need people to listen. We are listening, but you're not making sense. First, you're our most vocal feminist advocate. Now you're in meetings asking about men's rights. It's inconsistent and, frankly, concerning. Maybe my understanding has evolved. Or maybe you're having some kind of crisis, she says, not unkindly. Take the rest of the day. Go home. Think about whether this job is still a good fit. I'm being pushed out. I can feel it. I gather my things and leave. Saturday morning, I wake up and check my phone. There are messages from Jennifer and 3 other women from my activist circles. Jennifer has apparently told everyone that I've gone MRA. The messages range from concerned to angry to outright hostile. One person says I'm a traitor to women. Another says I've internalized misogyny. Another says I'm probably being manipulated by some man. I delete them all. I get dressed and walk to the park. It's early, maybe 7 a.m. The homeless men are still there. All of them asleep or trying to sleep. I count them. 18 men visible from where I'm standing. 18 human beings who will spend this Saturday trying to survive, and no one will see them. I walk through the park slowly, look at each person, try to see them as individuals with histories and stories and families they've lost. Robert is here too. I didn't know he slept in this park. He's on a bench with his coat pulled up around his face. I don't wake him. I keep walking and end up at the construction site where the man fell. There's a small memorial someone put up, flowers, and a photo. The photo shows a smiling man, maybe 40, with his arm around a young boy. There's a handwritten note. Dad, we miss you so much. You were the best father. We love you forever. I stand there reading it over and over. He was someone's best father, and he died building something, died making money to support his family. And how many people know his name? How many people stopped at this memorial? I'm standing there when another construction worker approaches. Older guy, maybe late 50s. You knew Miguel, he asks. Miguel, his name was Miguel. No, I admit. I was walking by when it happened. The worker nods. Good man, he says. 20 years in construction. Never had an accident before. Just one moment of bad luck. Safety line wasn't secured, right? Was someone held responsible? He laughs bitterly. Company's investigating themselves, he says. Probably find it was his fault somehow. Usually do. That's not right. No, it ain't. But Miguel's the 15th guy I've known who died on a job. It's just what happens. Dangerous work. Someone's got to do it. There should be better safety. Sure, he interrupts. Should be a lot of things. Should be better pay too, better equipment, better training. But at the end of the day, men's bodies are cheap. Always have been. Society needs buildings built, roads paved, bridges fixed. Needs someone willing to die for it. That's us. He looks at the memorial. Miguel's got 2 kids and a wife. Company gave her $50,000 to stay quiet. $50,000 for a husband and father. That's what he was worth to them. I don't know what to say. The worker shakes his head and walks away. I stand there until the sun is fully up. Then I go home and I sit at my kitchen table and I make myself think. Really think about everything I've believed, everything I've fought for. I think about all the rallies I've attended, all the signs I've carried, all the statistics I've cited. Wage gap, glass ceiling, representation, harassment, assault. All real issues. All things that matter. But not the complete picture. Not even close to the complete picture. I've spent 10 years fighting against male privilege, convinced that men have it easier in every possible way. Convinced that the system is built for them and against us. And some of that is true. Men do dominate positions of power. Men do hold most of the wealth. Men are overrepresented in government, in corporate leadership, in every position of authority. But those men are not all men. The tiny percentage of men at the top are not representative of men as a class. And I've spent a decade looking up at those men and resenting all men, while never once looking down at the men at the bottom. The men in the sewers and on the scaffolding and under the bridges, the men dying quietly, the invisible men. I've advocated for women's shelters, rightfully, because women need protection from violence, but I never once asked about shelters for men. Never once wondered where male victims go. Assumed they didn't exist in significant numbers. I've fought for mothers' rights in family court. Never questioned whether fathers might also be getting unfair treatment. Assumed any father fighting for custody was trying to punish his ex. I've supported lowering barriers for women in the workplace. Never noticed that men are doing almost all of the jobs that destroy your body and kill you young. I've pushed for more women in STEM, in leadership, in high-paying fields. Never wondered why no one is pushing for more women in roofing or logging or fishing or mining. Because those jobs aren't prestigious. They're just dangerous and necessary. And men's lives are considered expendable in a way I never allowed myself to see. Because it contradicted the narrative I needed to believe. The narrative where women are oppressed and men are oppressors. Simple, clear, binary, righteous. But the truth is so much more complicated. Both things are true. Women face discrimination and harassment and violence and barriers. And also men are disposed of and ignored and left to die, and considered worthless unless they're useful. Both things are true. And I've spent 10 years only seeing one side. Only caring about one side. treating any mention of men's issues as derailment or distraction or misogyny. I think about the phrase male privilege and how I've wielded it like a weapon, used it to shut down conversations, dismiss concerns, invalidate experiences. You have male privilege, so your problems don't count. But what privilege did Robert have when he came back from Vietnam and no one helped him? What privilege did Miguel have when he fell 4 stories to his death for barely middle-class wages? What privilege does the construction worker have, knowing he's the 15th of his friends to die? What privilege do the 18 men sleeping in the park have? What privilege do the 40,000 men who kill themselves every year have? They're male, yes. But privilege? I've been confusing the privileges of some men with the experience of all men. And in doing so, I've become part of the problem, part of the invisibility, part of the system that grinds men up and throws them away. Because I've spent 10 years saying their issues don't matter, their pain doesn't count, they're men, they're oppressors, they deserve whatever they get. And sitting here now, I feel sick. Actually, physically sick. I think about every conversation I've shut down, every man I've dismissed, every time I've said, "What about men?" mockingly. Every time I've rolled my eyes at someone bringing up fathers' rights, or male suicide, or false accusations, or any issue affecting men. Every time I've made it clear that I don't care, that their suffering is either deserved or irrelevant. I think about David Chen at the city council meeting, his hands shaking as he talked about losing his job and his kids, and how I felt annoyed that he was taking up space. I think about the man in the alley being beaten, crying in public, and how I rationalized it away. I think about Rick getting excited about taking his son to a game, one game during his every other weekend custody, and how I pitied his ex-wife instead of recognizing what he'd lost. I put my head down on the table. I've been so wrong, not wrong about women's issues. Those are still real and still matter, but wrong about men. Wrong about privilege being universal. Wrong about men not needing advocacy or support or compassion. Wrong about thinking that gender equality means only lifting women up. Wrong about not seeing that men are drowning too, just in different water. I sit there for a long time. Eventually I get up and make coffee. Open my laptop, start looking for organizations that help homeless men. There are almost none. A few religious missions that offer meals, mostly the same shelters that Robert said have waiting lists and kick everyone out during the day. I look for men's domestic violence resources, even fewer. A couple of hotlines, one shelter in the entire state. I look for fathers' rights organizations, find several, but they're all vilified, called hate groups. I read through their websites expecting misogyny, mostly just find desperate men trying to see their children. Some anger, yes, some bitterness, but mainly just pain. I look for men's mental health initiatives, barely anything. Most mental health organizations have specific programs for women, for LGBTQ people, for various groups. Almost nothing specifically for men, despite them being the majority of suicides. I look for advocacy around workplace deaths. OSHA regulations, but no real movement. Pushing for change. No marches, no awareness campaigns, no political pressure. 93% of workplace deaths, and it's just accepted. The cost of doing business. I close the laptop and cry. Really cry. For the first time in years. Cry for Robert and Miguel and David Chen and the man in the alley. Cry for all the invisible men. Cry for my own willful blindness. Cry because I've been so certain and so wrong, and I don't know what to do with that. Sunday, I go back to the library. Robert is there. I sit down next to him. "Robert," I say. "I'm sorry." He looks confused. "For what?" "For walking past you for 3 years and never seeing you." "You ain't the only one." "I know, but I should have been different. I claim to care about social justice, about helping people, about fighting oppression, and I never once saw you." He's quiet for a moment. "You see me now?" he finally says. "Yeah, that's more than most people ever do." We sit together. "Robert, why doesn't anyone care?" I ask. "Why is no one helping?" He thinks about it. "Because we're men," he says simply. "Men are supposed to take care of themselves, supposed to be strong, provide, protect. When we can't, when we fail, there's no sympathy, just contempt. We're supposed to figure it out or die trying, and a lot of us die." "That's not right." "No," he agrees, "but it's how it is. Always has been. Men are disposable. We're the ones who go to war, who do the dangerous jobs, who society sacrifices when sacrifice is needed, and when we break, when we can't do it anymore, we're useless. No one wants to see a broken man. Doesn't fit the story? What story? That men have all the power, he says. And maybe some men do. The rich ones, the connected ones. But most of us? We're just trying to survive, same as everyone. And we're doing it with less help, less support, less compassion. Because compassion is for women and children. Men are supposed to tough it out. I sit with that. I've been part of that, I say quietly. Part of denying compassion to men. I thought it was fighting the patriarchy. I thought men were the enemy. Some men are, Robert says. Some men are bad people, do bad things. But that's true of everyone. Most men are just people, trying to do right, trying to get by. How do I fix this? I ask. How do I make up for years of being wrong? He looks at me with those tired eyes. You're here, he says. You're listening. You changed your mind when you saw the truth. That's more than most people ever do. Most people, they see what they want to see, believe what they want to believe. Easier that way. We sit until it gets dark. I give him $40, all the cash I have, exchange email addresses, even though he doesn't have computer access. He knows the library has computers he can use sometimes. When I leave, I look back and he's still sitting there, still invisible to everyone else. Monday. I don't go to work. I call in and quit. My supervisor sounds relieved, honestly. I've become a problem, easier to let me go. I spend the day researching, finding statistics, reading studies, learning about all the issues I've ignored. I'm not looking to become an activist for men's rights. I'm just trying to understand the complete picture, trying to see all the suffering instead of just the suffering that fits my worldview. Tuesday, Jennifer calls me. I almost don't answer, but I do. Sarah, what the hell is going on with you? I take a breath. I've been learning things, I say. Seeing things I didn't see before? Like what? That men have it hard? Her voice is dripping with sarcasm. Some men do, I say quietly. A lot of men do. Oh my God. Jennifer, when was the last time you let your ex see the kids outside his scheduled custody? Why would I do that? Because he's their father and he loves them? He should have thought about that before he prioritized his career over his family. Did he, though? Or did you both make decisions that seemed right at the time, and now you're punishing him for those decisions? Silence on the other end. Are you actually saying I'm the bad guy here? I'm saying maybe there isn't a bad guy. Maybe you're both doing your best and the situation is just hard. Fuck you, Sarah, she says. She hangs up. I sit there holding the phone, losing friends over this, losing my job, losing my entire community, because I admitted I was wrong, because I started seeing invisible people. Wednesday, I volunteer at a soup kitchen. I expect to see homeless women and children. Mostly, it's men. Elderly men, young men, middle-aged men, all hungry, all struggling. I serve food and listen to stories. Every person has a story. Job loss, injury, illness, divorce, bad luck, bad choices, sometimes just bad timing. All of them falling through the cracks. All of them invisible. Thursday, I attend a city council meeting. Not to speak, just to listen. There's a discussion about funding for social services. Someone proposes increasing funding for men's shelters. The proposal is voted down immediately. Limited resources must be prioritized for the most vulnerable populations. Women and children. Always women and children. Men can fend for themselves, apparently, even when they clearly can't. Friday, I go back to the library. Robert isn't there. I wait for an hour, but he doesn't show up. I ask another homeless man if he's seen Robert. Old Robert? Think he went to the hospital a couple days ago? Wasn't looking good? My heart drops. Which hospital? He shrugs. I spend the afternoon calling hospitals. Finally find him at County General. I go there immediately. Find him in a bed in the ER. They're waiting to admit him. Pneumonia. He looks small in the hospital bed. Robert, I say. He opens his eyes. Sarah, he says. His voice is weak. Didn't think I'd see you again. Of course you would. People say that, he says. They don't mean it usually. I sit in the chair next to his bed. How are you feeling? Like shit, he admits, then coughs hard. But the docs say I'll probably make it. Antibiotics and all that. That's good. Is it? He asks. Make it through this, just to go back to the street. Winter's coming eventually. I'll probably die then instead. I don't know what to say, because he's probably right. I don't have much time left anyway, he continues. I'm 73. That's older than most guys on the street. Make it. Robert? It's okay, he says. I've had a long time to make peace with it. I just wish... I don't know. I wish I'd mattered more. Wish I'd left something behind. Feel like I've been invisible my whole life. I'm crying now. You matter to me, I say. He smiles sadly. You've known me 2 weeks. Doesn't matter. You changed everything for me, made me see what I was blind to. What were you blind to? That people like you exist, I say. That you're suffering and no one cares. That I didn't care. That I was so focused on my own sense of injustice that I couldn't see anyone else's. He reaches out and pats my hand. His hand is so thin. You care now, he says. That's something. I stay with him until visiting hours end. Promise to come back tomorrow. Saturday, I return to the hospital. Robert is in a room now. Looks slightly better. We talk for hours. He tells me more about his life. I tell him about mine. About my activism, my certainty, my wrongness. So what now? He asks. I don't know, I admit. I can't go back to how I was. Can't pretend I don't see what I see now, but I don't know what to do with it. You could help, he suggests. How? I'm one person. The problems are so big. Every person who helps is one person, he says. Better than no person. He's right. I've spent 10 years fighting, I say. Fighting for women, fighting against men. I thought I was doing good. I thought I was on the right side. Maybe you were, Robert says. On a right side. Just not the only right side. I nod slowly. Women do face discrimination, I say, working it out as I speak. Women do need support and advocacy. That's all still true. Sure. But men also face things, different things, and those things matter too. Yep. And I've been acting like only one can be true. Like if men have problems, that somehow negates women's problems. Or if women have problems, men can't also have problems. People do that, Robert says. Makes things simpler. Good guys and bad guys. But life ain't simple. No, I agree. It's really not. I visit Robert every day for the next week. He slowly gets better. But the day he's discharged, he'll go right back to the street. I try to find alternatives. Call every shelter, every program, every service. All full, all have waiting lists. All prioritize families or women or youth. Robert is an elderly single man. Bottom of every list. The day before he's discharged, I make a decision. Robert, I have a second bedroom. It's full of storage, but I can clear it out. You can stay with me. He stares at me. You don't want that, he says. I do. You don't know me? Not really. I know enough. I have nightmares, he says. Wake up screaming sometimes. I'm not easy to live with. I have a spare room and you have nowhere to go. This isn't complicated. He's quiet for a long time. Why? He finally asks. Because you're a human being and you deserve basic dignity. His eyes fill with tears. I can't pay you. I'm not asking you to. I don't know what to say. Say yes. He does. The next day, I bring him home. It takes me 2 days to clear out the spare room. I buy him basic necessities. Clothes, toiletries, a comfortable bed. It's awkward at first. We're strangers, really. But slowly, we settle into a routine. He keeps the room neat, helps around the apartment. Cooks sometimes. He's actually a good cook. Tells me stories about his life. Gradually, the apartment feels less empty. I didn't realize how lonely I'd been. Weeks pass. I help Robert apply for better benefits, navigate the VA system. It's a bureaucratic nightmare, but we work through it. He starts getting slightly more disability pay, enough to contribute to groceries. He insists on contributing something. I let him because I understand pride. Meanwhile, I'm figuring out my own life. I need a new job, but I'm not going back to law. I'm not sure what I want to do. I start volunteering more. At soup kitchens, at shelters, anywhere that helps people who've fallen through the cracks. I notice things I never noticed before. How most volunteers are women helping women. How few resources exist for men. How even in homeless services there's this unstated hierarchy. Families first, then women, then youth, then men. Men are always last, always least. I start having conversations, asking why there are so few men's services, getting uncomfortable responses. Men are more dangerous. Men don't need as much help. Resources are limited. All may be partially true, but also revealing. Revealing that male suffering is considered less important, less worthy of care, more their own fault. I think about my old activism, how certain I was, how righteous, how wrong. Not wrong about everything. Women do face harassment, discrimination, violence. Women's issues matter, but I was wrong to think that was the whole story. Wrong to think men's issues were either non-existent or deserved. Wrong to treat male privilege as universal rather than class-specific. Wrong to ignore the invisible men dying in the gaps. One evening, Robert and I are having dinner. Just pasta and salad, nothing fancy. "Sarah," he says, "can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why'd you really let me move in? And don't say it's just because I needed help. You could have helped in other ways." I think about how to answer. "Guilt, maybe," I say honestly. "Guilt for all the years I didn't see people like you, didn't care about people like you." "That's not a good reason to let a stranger live with you." "Maybe not," I agree, but also, you made me question everything, my whole worldview, my whole understanding of social justice and oppression, and who deserves help. That's valuable. You're valuable." He shakes his head. "I'm just an old homeless vet." "You're a person who survived things I can't imagine, whose society failed repeatedly, who represents thousands of invisible people I never cared about. And now you do care." "Now I do." He's quiet for a moment. "You lost your friends over this," he says. "I heard you on the phone with that Jennifer woman. She was cruel." "Yeah." "You lost your job too." "Yeah." "Was it worth it?" I think about that. Really think about it. "Yes," I say finally, "because I was wrong, and now I'm less wrong. That matters more than being comfortable." He nods slowly. "Most people never admit they're wrong," he says. "They just double down, get more extreme. You didn't do that." I tried to at first, I admit, tried to rationalize everything away. But the evidence was too overwhelming. "Evidence? You?" I say. "Miguel, David Chen, the man in the alley, the 18 men in the park, the statistics, the invisible suffering everywhere once I started looking." "We've always been here," Robert says quietly. "I know," I say, "and I'm sorry I didn't see you sooner." Months pass. I find work doing legal aid for low-income people, pays less, but feels more meaningful. I help people navigate systems designed to confuse and exclude them. Many of my clients are men. Fathers trying to see their kids. Homeless men trying to access benefits. Workers injured on the job fighting for compensation. I see how the system treats them, with suspicion, contempt, indifference. Every man is assumed to be trying to game the system. Every father is assumed to be dangerous or incompetent. Every homeless man is assumed to be an addict or lazy. Guilty until proven innocent, and sometimes not even then. I think about how I used to think, how I would have seen these men, as privileged, as oppressors, as the problem. Now I see them as people. People struggling in a system that doesn't care about them, that sees them as disposable. Robert gets stronger. His nightmares continue, but less frequently. He connects with other veterans through a support group, finds purpose in helping younger vets navigate the system. He's good at it, patient and knowledgeable. One day, he comes home excited. "They offered me a job," he says. "What? Who?" "The Veterans Organization, part-time peer counselor. It doesn't pay much, but it's something." I hug him. "Robert, that's amazing." "Never thought I'd work again," he says, and his voice cracks. "Thought I was done. Used up." "You were never used up. Society thought I was. I thought I was." "You were wrong," I say. "We were both wrong about a lot of things." He laughs. "Yeah, we were." I continue my own work. Legal aid during the day, volunteering in the evenings. I try to talk about men's issues with other activists. It doesn't go well. I'm called a gender traitor, an MRA, a misogynist. The same people I marched with for years now refuse to speak to me. Because I said men suffer too. Because I said male privilege isn't universal. Because I complicated the narrative. I lose more friends. Lose my entire social circle, really? It hurts, but I can't go back. Can't unsee what I've seen. Can't stop caring about invisible people just because it's inconvenient. One night, I'm lying in bed, thinking about everything. About where I was a year ago. So certain, so righteous, so wrong. I was fighting for equality, but only for half the population. I was advocating for justice, but only for people I deemed worthy. I was pushing for social change, but ignoring massive swaths of suffering, because it didn't fit my framework. Because men were supposed to be the oppressors, not the oppressed. Because acknowledging male suffering felt like betraying women. But that's not how it works. Suffering isn't zero-sum. Caring about men's issues doesn't mean caring less about women's issues. Both can be true simultaneously. Women can face discrimination and harassment and violence. And men can also face disposability and invisibility and systematic neglect. Both are problems. Both deserve attention. Both require solutions. The fact that I couldn't see that for so long, the fact that I actively fought against seeing it, That's what I can't forgive myself for. I was so committed to my ideology that I became blind to reality. So invested in the narrative of male privilege that I couldn't see male suffering. So focused on fighting the patriarchy that I ignored the men crushed underneath it. The working class men, the homeless men, the suicidal men, the expendable men, the invisible men. I get out of bed and go to the kitchen. Robert is there, can't sleep either. "You okay?" he asks. "Just thinking?" About how wrong I was, about how many people I hurt with my wrongness. "You didn't hurt me," he says. "I hurt people like you, by not caring, by actively opposing anyone who tried to bring up men's issues. And now? Now I care, now I see, but it feels like too little too late." Robert pours me tea. We sit at the kitchen table. "Sarah," he says, "you changed your mind when confronted with evidence? That's rare. Most people don't do that. Most people aren't as wrong as I was." "Everyone's wrong about something," he says. "The question is what you do when you realize it. You could have doubled down, could have rationalized it away. Instead, you changed. You helped me. You're helping others. It doesn't feel like enough." "It's more than I had before," he says simply. And that's true. 6 months ago, Robert was dying alone on the street. Now he has a home and a job and a future. Because I admitted I was wrong. Because I let uncomfortable truth change my mind. It's not enough to fix the systemic problems. The homelessness, the suicide, the workplace deaths, the family court bias, the lack of services. All of that still exists. All those invisible men are still suffering. But I'm not making it worse anymore. I'm not actively opposing people trying to help. I'm not dismissing their suffering as irrelevant. I'm not contributing to their invisibility. That's something. Not enough, but something. "Robert," I say, "thank you." "For what?" "For being visible. For making me see." He smiles. "Thank you for looking." We sit in the kitchen drinking tea. Two people who found each other by accident, who changed each other's lives. I think about the woman I was a year ago, walking past Robert every day without seeing him, so confident in my righteousness, so sure I was fighting the good fight, so completely, devastatingly wrong about half the population. I can't be her anymore. Can't go back to that comfortable certainty. Can't unsee the invisible men. Can't unknow what I know now. That suffering is complicated. That privilege is not universal. That oppression has many faces. That men die too, quietly, invisibly, unmourned. That society sacrifices men and calls it normal. That I participated in that sacrifice by denying it existed. I was wrong. Fundamentally, completely wrong. And admitting that cost me everything. My job, my friends, my community, my identity. But I'd rather be friendless and right than comfortable and wrong. I'd rather see uncomfortable truths than live in convenient blindness. I'd rather be hated for caring about everyone than praised for caring about only half. The man I saw outside the library a year ago, the invisible veteran. He has a name now, Robert Williams. He has a home and a future. Because I stopped being certain long enough to actually see. And if I can do that, if I can change that fundamentally, maybe others can too. Maybe slowly, person by person, we can start seeing the invisible. Start caring about all suffering instead of just politically convenient suffering. Start building a society that doesn't dispose of men or oppress women. That values everyone, protects everyone, sees everyone. It's a distant dream, but it starts with admitting you're wrong, with seeing what you've been trained not to see, with caring about people you've been told not to care about. I was wrong. I'm still learning what that means, still figuring out how to be right, but at least I'm trying. At least I can see now. At least Robert isn't invisible anymore. At least not to me.